Welcome to In the Middle. I'm Vykky. I'm a wife, a mom, and a leader shaping some of the world's most beloved brands. This is the podcast for all of us figuring it out in real time. In 20 minutes or less, let's get in the middle of it all. I'm so glad you're here. Okay, friends, we are back. We are back for part 2. If you missed last week was all about what it means to own your career. Today, we are going to talk about how you own your career. So go back if you haven't heard the what first. Always like the what and the how. We're going to get into the how, and I'm going to share some practical tips that you can use, things that I've done in the past and things I still do today to help me own my career. Now, last week, I also asked you a question on a scale from 1 to 5, with 1 being here, I'm here to collect a check, and 5 being I'm leaning in, really owning my career. Remember the score you gave yourself. Just bring it back front of mind. Okay, we got it. We'll log it away for later. I just want to make sure that you're reminded of the number that you gave yourself. And let's talk about the how. So how do you own your career? One of my things that I continue to reflect on is growth and growing as a professional. And the way you do that is being a forever student. I loved going to school. I was a little bit of a book nerd. And so if I could have maybe been paid to go to school the rest of my life, I probably would have done it. So it is not hard for me to think about being a forever student. I am naturally inquisitive and I want to know how things work. My mom will tell you that my favorite question was why? Well, why, mommy? Well, why, mommy? And I'm sort of getting it now with my 6-year-old. And I love it. I love that she's interested in how things work and why they work that way and why things are the way that they are. I think that just makes for a very critical thinker as she becomes an adult. So what it means to be a forever student in the professional sense is that you are constantly investing in yourself. And this doesn't mean like, oh, I have to go back and get my master's or my PhD or whatever. I don't mean that in the traditional sense. And those things are great. Getting your MBA, that's fantastic. I'm always, going to support higher ed, but I don't necessarily mean that that's something that you have to do, especially if you don't have that natural desire to do it. It's important for you to be a forever student in kind of looking around and learning around you, because as soon as you stop, you fall behind. If you think about it in a very practical sense, people are coming out of college each year. People are developing their skills each year. So if you make the decision that like, hey, this is it, I'm just going to like work the thing and not grow, not look across, you start to fall behind and you stop having as much value and ideas and innovation to offer to your employer. And you don't want to get maybe out of touch with what actually works and what can move the needle forward. And so if I'm saying like, hey, it doesn't mean that you have to go back to school and you don't have to spend thousands of dollars to go to conferences. What does that look like? Where you can learn actually happens right in the organization you're in today. Start to look across at your peers and colleagues, above at your leaders and your executives, and below at the people, if you're a people leader, the folks that report into you. So let's unpack how you can do that naturally. So looking across, I get to work with some really, really smart people, and I have seen my growth across the last few years just working so closely with people who are in the same department, but their remit is different. And I feel like I've grown as a communicator just working alongside them. So if you get the opportunity to work with your peers, don't just get the thing done. Really sit back and look at how they're working. Look at how, if you work in an agency, how they're serving their clients, how they're delivering reports and readouts to their leaders. Are there things that you can pick up on? I have a colleague who taught me a different way that she manages her meetings. I was sort of drowning in one-on-ones, and I'm like, how do I get out of this? And she gave me a very practical idea of grouping my team together on projects that they're working on. And I took that and I started to run with it, and it's freed up my time. And I actually think my team is working even more efficiently because we are getting better at sharing information in different pods versus all of these one-on-ones. And we almost get into this telephone game. And so that's a really tangible example of how learning from your peers can help you to grow as a professional. I think the other piece to think about, especially for those of you who are still interested in growing your career, if you plan to stay in your field industry department, there is a chance that the roles that are your peers will eventually become roles that report into your wheelhouse. So if you, like me, I'm working in social and digital, I may not have as much deep experience in earned, but ultimately, if my goal is to one day be a VP of communications or an EVP in communications, those roles will ultimately report into me. So what are the things that I'm learning from my peers and my colleagues that will give me enough working knowledge that should I continue to scale in my career, I can support and help my team that do those different jobs. I don't have to know the nitty gritty, but I have enough working knowledge to know what needs to get done and to help advocate and guide them in those roles. So that's another really important reason why learning from your peers can help. Okay, so we talked about looking across and using your colleagues as a way to kind of grow as a professional. Let's talk about the above. And this is especially for those of you who want to continue to scale your career. Look at the people that are above you across your department, across the organization, and reflect on the gaps that you have. It's like, I don't have enough deep knowledge about the way finance works, or, oh, I'm an individual contributor. Maybe you're like a principal in your role, but you want to be a people leader. How does this person manage a 30-person team? Look at those gaps and document them. Be really intentional about, I have a gap here. How do I get this experience? And book those meetings. I think we maybe have all gotten away from doing like the informational interviews. If you report into like a director, book that skip level meeting with your VP or AVP, whatever the kind of organization hierarchy and your department. Make sure you spend that time with that senior leader to ask them, like, hey, how did you navigate this thing? How did you, and depending on the leader, they'll, ideally they'll be transparent to say, like, I wasn't sure how to navigate this thing, but I took a second and they'll give you the playbook. And then ask the follow-up questions and apply the things that you learn and follow up with those skip level leaders to say, like, hey, I took your advice on this thing and here's the outcome. Not only are you showing them that you're applying the thing that you learned, so you're showing them that you value the time that they spent with you, but you're also showing your ability to comprehend and to pivot and to apply the things that you learned. I would also say, and this is something that I had to get over, and I'm sharing this as a little bit of a vulnerability. Early in my career, I tended to stick with leaders directly in my department or my same career trajectory. And I realized that that was a little bit of like a safety net or a comfort for me. But in one of my previous organizations, they had this program where they paired high performing people earlier in their career with senior leaders. And I was paired with the VP of supply chain. And on paper, we couldn't be more different. I'm like, this is an older white man. I am this younger Black woman. He's in supply chain. I'm in digital marketing. We're not going to have anything in common. And y'all, he was one of the best mentors I've ever had. He helped me to navigate some really tough times at my job. And that doesn't mean that my leader couldn't have helped me. But his perspective, because he was so analytical and he just thought about things differently based on the nature of his work, it opened my eyes to a completely different perspective that I wouldn't have had without his coaching and mentorship. And that was a formal mentorship program. But I want to also say at this point, don't get so wrapped up in having a formal mentor. This is the person that I meet on a monthly basis and I bring my agenda and we talk about these things. Like, it doesn't have to be that buttoned up. I would say that you need to maybe reflect on who you are and your personality before you go gangbusters on like finding a specific mentor. I'd also say that anyone can kind of be a mentor. It doesn't have to be someone that you report into. It doesn't have to be someone that is even at the same company. It just has to be someone that you respect professionally, that has more experience than you, and you trust their advice. It doesn't have to be formal. You don't even have to have a consistent cadence. There are people who I look to as a mentor that I talk to twice a year, and some folks that I talk to on a monthly or even weekly basis. So don't get so wrapped up in what it looks like. Sometimes it's just a trusted voice, an outside objective opinion to help you to get to a decision that you're trying to make. Okay, another way for you to continue to be a forever student and develop as a professional, and I think it's a little bit of an unlock that we overlook sometimes, are the people that are below you, the people that report to you directly or indirectly. Sometimes we as leaders just feel like we have to pour into them. We have to make sure that they're having a great experience in their career. They're getting the coaching and the support and advocacy that they need. But candidly, I love learning from the people who report into me, whether it is the reason this TikTok trend is viral to thinking about the way we organize, the way our team work and meet. I have been so impressed and I've grown so much because of the people that report to me. And I find that the deeper experience that you gain based on these folks who are experts in their field and their lane, the goal is not to learn their job soup to nuts to be able to do it. The goal is to learn enough about what they do and where they're spending their time so that when it's time, again, for those of you that are people leaders, when it's time for you to advocate for them, whether it's for budgets, whether it's for the prioritization of work, you have enough knowledge and enough depth in the work that they're responsible for that you can speak to it to your leaders. You can advocate for, no, we need this tool because it will unlock X, Y, and Z. And not only does that help to build your credibility with the people that you are responsible for, it actually helps to round you out as a leader. And I would say, especially for those of you sitting in senior manager, director level roles, you have this responsibility to do a lot of this and this and this in how you, and for those of you listening, I'm pointing up and to the side and down. There is a lot more of that fluidity that you have to lean into when you are in like a senior manager, director level role. And I find that when you keep a good pulse on what's important to the people that are reporting to you, it makes you a much better leader and it makes you an overall better professional as well. I get so excited about the idea of owning your career and how you own your career because it is your own to do. And of course, there will always be outside factors that can impact it, but something that is completely in your control is the intentionality that you bring to your career. No one can take that away. No one can say, oh, well, I'm just going to make sure you don't prepare for that meeting. You make that active decision. It's the little things that really helps you to scale your career. It's the preparation for meetings. Are you sending agendas ahead of time so that the meetings run efficiently? Are you sending recaps to make sure it's crystal clear what are the next steps? Are you proactively reaching out to your leader to say, hey, this thing is coming down the pike. Here are some notes just to make sure you have the background. Those are the differentiators between going from good to great. Another thing that I don't think we talk a lot about, and it is a little bit subjective, but I think it's still valuable, is your colleagues liking you. Like it's the difference between the what and the how. You may be so technically sound and doing the thing so well, but if it is like watching paint dry having to work with you, it makes it harder for your colleagues to work with you. And I'm not saying you have to swing to the complete other side and just be like the golden retriever. I'm sure you've seen it on social where they talk about the golden retriever coworker and the coworker that is just like they're just fun. Like, yeah, there's a healthy mix between being fun and also strategic and impactful and helpful. And so you have to really strike that balance of showing up in those ways. So it's the little things, it's being liked, and it's being effective in your role. I think when you start to navigate those things and the intentionality behind it, you'll see the unlock and the growth in your career. The next thing is your leader and thinking about the things that keep them up at night. And it's not just your immediate leader. You think about the leader above them and the leader above them, depending on how flat your organization is. What are the things that are keeping them up at night? If you have an opportunity to sit down, we talked about those skip level meetings, and to ask them directly, hey, what's keeping you up at night with the business? And listen intently, take notes. If you don't understand something, don't be shy about it. Ask the follow-up questions. Well, what does that mean? What are the solutions you're thinking through? Be inquisitive. Again, go back to that childlike way of asking why, how. How are you going to solve that? What should we be thinking about? Ask those questions. One, your leader's going to say, okay, you're really invested. You are bought in. And two, hey, I haven't thought about this, or hey, this person may actually have some good ideas. So you think about those things. If you don't get the opportunity to sit with the 2 and 3 leaders above you, show up to those town halls, those all hands, and listen. Again, this is where we just have to be proactive and present. Listen to the themes. What are you consistently hearing, especially if you get an opportunity to hear from multiple leaders in one setting? Is there a through line? Is everyone talking about technology and innovation? Is everyone talking about AI? What is that pattern you're picking up on? And what can you do in your role today to help you contribute to the solution the business is trying to get after? So if you hear like AI, we need to use AI to work faster, smarter, etc., what can you do in your role to say, okay, I'm doing this thing and I'm doing it very manually. Is there an AI solution out there that's approved by the business? I'm not saying go rogue and bring in some AI tool that's not allowed, but is there a tool that I can use to help me do my job better and faster? Okay, you do the thing, you find the tool, you learn the tool, you become the resident expert on the tool. What's the next thing that you do? You organize a lunch and learn, and you teach all of your peers how to use the tool too. Not only are you showing yourself as a self-starter, that's fantastic, you're also bringing value to the business and you are speaking the language of your leaders. Lean in, do the thing. So after you do the thing, now it's time to celebrate. And that's one of my other topics about being intentional. Sometimes we can be, especially those of us who are of a certain age. Am I getting to a place where I can say I'm of a certain age? I think I am. We can maybe shy away from talking about the great work that we're doing. And now I'm not saying that everything you do in your job you need to shout from the rooftops, but if you haven't done a recap for your leader, if you haven't said like, hey, we made this big win, if you've set a new record, if you've closed more deals than anyone else, like that needs to be something you celebrate, not only internally, but also externally. What does externally look like? If you get the opportunity to speak at a conference with the approval of your company, some organizations you have to go through like a speakers bureau and all of those, do all the right things. But if you get the opportunity to speak, Showcase your work. Even a simple LinkedIn post can work wonders for you in showing yourself as a leader in your field, as well as someone who's really invested in developing their career. So I would say don't feel like, oh, I'm just going to show up braggadocious. I think sometimes we can give our peers, our leaders, almost too much credit that they know the work that you're doing. Everyone is so busy. We have to be intentional about saying, hey, this is really great work. I'm really proud of it. I've invested time in it. It's helping to move the business forward. You have to be specific and just say the thing. You never know when sending that kind of recap note may actually help you. I'm not saying only send it around calibration season, but it also doesn't hurt to do that. In the same way, you celebrate your successes, you got to do the hard thing too. And what's that hard thing? Asking for feedback. I am someone who values feedback, but it doesn't mean that it's still not hard to hear, especially when it is growth feedback. I don't like to say critical or like criticism. I just like to say this is feedback for growth. It's still hard to hear that you're actually not perfect. But when I get that feedback, especially when it is from someone that I trust and respect, and I know that their intention is good, I'm grateful because as much as we don't like to get feedback that can sometimes be hard, trust as someone who's had to give really hard feedback, it's just as hard to give it. So if you get the opportunity, if your company does 360s, and maybe if they don't, a 360 for those of you who haven't done it before is where your leader oftentimes will go and ask your peer group and people above you and below you for feedback about you. And it's 360 because it's kind of like the all around, you get it. And you can tailor. Some organizations have very organized 360s, and some of them is just simply an email. Please tell me you've worked with this person on a few projects. Please give me some feedback. If you get the opportunity to ask for a 360 and you get the opportunity to give your leader names, don't just give them the besties that you know is going to say like, oh, Susan is the best. That's really not going to help you grow. You should maybe give them the name of someone that you have a hard time with sometimes, or give them the name of someone that you work together fine, but you don't feel like you've cracked that nut. I believe that that feedback is actually even more valuable than the person that you always kill the projects together and you love working with them. Their feedback is valuable too because there may be some blind spots that they've just been kind enough to look past. But the person who maybe you've had some friction with, they may also have some really, really good feedback that can help you unlock that next level. So don't shy away from it. But what I'd also say is when you get the feedback, especially someone giving you growth feedback, you have to take it serious and you have to do everything you can to apply it. So if when you get your feedback, someone says, man, Billy, he never replies to emails. I'll send him things and I won't hear back. I have to follow up 2 and 3 times. If Billy has shared that feedback with you and your leader, the next time Billy emails you, write him back within 24 hours. Even if it doesn't warrant a reply that quickly, do it because Billy would say, oh, okay, he got back really quickly. I think my feedback is helping. And that also encourages Billy and also shows respect to Billy. Hey, thank you for being vulnerable. Thank you for taking time to do that. The worst thing that you can do is get the feedback. Billy knows that you received the feedback and you still just show up the same way. Billy will never offer feedback again for you. And I think it actually chips away at your credibility when you don't take that. And credibility, man, you want to talk about reputation corporately, I would compare it to your credit score or your GPA. You work so hard to build it up, right? And all it takes is one thing. Depending on the thing, it may not make it fall completely apart, but you kind of chip away each time, and it takes much longer to build it back up. So whatever we can do to maintain our reputation, it's worth it. It's worth having the hard talks. It's worth asking for the feedback, especially for those who you wouldn't consider a fan. And it's worth making it a priority to make the adjustments, especially if your leader is saying like, hey, I'm seeing some of those same things. Take the time to do what it takes to adjust and to show yourself as someone who is open, you're willing to learn, and you're willing to evolve as a professional. Whew, that was heavy, right? But I also hope that it was really helpful. We are rounding home, and at this point, I'm hoping that y'all are seeing that I love to do reflections at the end of our time together. And what I'm going to ask this time around is actually something that I asked at the beginning of part 1. And that question is, today, where are you on the spectrum from 1 to 5? How invested are you in your career? Are you a 1? I'm just collecting my check. Or are you a 5? I'm leaning in, I'm fired up, I'm building my plan, I'm ready to grow. If your numbers stay the same, that's totally fine. If it went up, cool. If it went down, also cool. There is no right or wrong answer. What matters is that you're present and you really see where you are in your career. You are seeing the what and the how in growing your career. We're all in the middle of it right now, and it's not linear. I think I shared before about this jungle gym analogy. This may not be the season right now for you to fully lean in and be crazy focused on your career. You may have some little people running around, or you may have an aging parent that you're taking care of. It's okay to lean back a bit, but just don't get fully out of the game of being intentional about your career. Thanks so much for the time, friends, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Bye. Thanks for listening to In the Middle. If this episode resonated with you, share it with a friend and click subscribe so you never miss an honest conversation about life in the middle. I'll see you next time.